Hi, my name is Belinda, and this is Belinda's Baubles, and this is a special Advent edition. I will be going over 30 plus Advent patterns that I have found on Ravelry, but most of them are also either on Lovecraft or on individual websites. So if you don't use Ravelry, you don't have to not use this as a little look. I've spent a couple of days just searching and searching and seeing what caught my eye. There's a lot of things out there. I was feeling a bit overwhelmed, so I decided to put my Christmas pajamas on, pull my Advents out, and some Advent projects that I had made prior to this year, and all of this list, and share this with you. These are knitting and crochet patterns, both. There are also some mystery make-alongs, and I will have this divided out down below into mystery or knit-alongs, knitting, and crochet. That way, if you're only interested in one section, you are more than welcome to skip ahead and find what works for you. Now, if you don't have an Advent calendar, that doesn't mean that these aren't for you. Some of these, the pattern themselves are an Advent. Otherwise, you can even make your own Advent. You don't have out of scraps, which I did. You can look back at Christmas in July, day 28. You can see how I made my own Scrappy Advent. The box that I'm using here is actually from last year's Advent from Charming You, and I'm just reusing it. I did treat myself to an Advent this year, and it is Mousewitch Yarns Adventures Around the Kingdom 2024. And I will be opening both of these during Advent Christmas vlogs this year on my channel. But you don't have to put out a lot of money. We already invest quite a bit in our stashes, I know. You can use your own stash, and you can participate if you're interested in any of these Advents or create your own tradition. For me, the first time I did one, I got a 10-gram mini fingering weight, and I did a litmus cowl. Now, I do litmus cowls a little bit differently than the way it's written. And this, I guess, is going to be my first one. So we're going to start with the knitting section. Really, I'm going to start with the MKALs, but I am going to just show you this one in particular. It's a free pattern, and I do mine with 100 stitch cast on so that I can make it into more of a stole instead of a cowl. Information is on my Ravelry page on this project. I like it so much, I made two. This was done with a 20-gram mini set, and then the accent 100-gram. But all the information, I have it over on my Ravelry page, and I will have links to all of this down below. Okay, so let me get my notes here. I have my computer up in front of me, so I'm sorry I won't be looking at you a lot, but I will be just telling you a little bit about what caught my eye. I'm not going to go through a lot of detail on these patterns, because if you're interested in it, you know how to go find out for yourself. All right, let's start with mystery knit-alongs or knit-alongs. And I do have 5 of those to show you today. So the first one is the Merrymaking Cowl by Stephanie Lotven, which is Tellybean Knits. And she is doing this is a mystery knit-along. She does a cowl that is stranded dye work and textured patterns. I did her Halloween one, and I am finding that with stranded dye works, I cannot do it in a short manner of time. I need to spread it out. So I will probably be doing this pattern later on instead of during Christmas, because I found I'm in Texas and there's no use me doing a Christmas sweater. I will not be able to wear it more than likely. So I am going to start doing some of these types of cowls so that I can wear them over tank tops, t-shirts, whatever I can. And that's what I did at Halloween. All right, the next one is the Advent Calendar Stole 2024 by Brigit Koch, K-O-K. This is $5.51 US dollars. And it is available to purchase. Now she's going to release this in 11 sections, it looks like. And then the complete pattern will be uploaded December 15th in the early morning in the Netherlands. But she will be releasing the earlier ones. It's a rectangle shaped stole, and it's composed of 11 patterns, and each pattern has a different pattern or motif. There's 2 different formats for the pattern, and this year both the right side and the wrong side rows are charted and have written instructions. And then between each pattern there's a few resting rows with the name interlude, and these are used to either increase or decrease the number of stitches to fit the next pattern. So this would be a good one to kind of look back, see what she's done in the past, and see if this is something that you would be interested in. Then there is I've got my notes over here, I've got my computer over here, so I may not be looking at you a whole lot, sorry. The Advent Knitalong 2024 by Lloyd-Jones, and this is hosted by the Victoria Methodist Church. It is a table mat in DK, and it is free. It is a mystery knit-along, and it's basically set up to where at the end for Christmas Day, you have a table mat that you can display on your Christmas table or to give as a present. And they have Bible verses that they also release along with this mystery knit-along. Then there is the Jolly Jumper by Ambah O'Brien. Now, there's not a price listed as of yet for this. It's part of her 2024 Ambah's Festive knit-along. So she has a lot of different patterns, but the Jolly Jumper was a little more unique in the way that it is created and everything. So it looked like it might actually work really well with an Advent calendar. Then there is the Fair Isle Mitten Mystery Knit-Along Calendar. And this is also a free pattern. And with it, you're doing a pair of mitts, it looks like. Let me pull it up here in front of me. So on this mystery knit-along, the pattern is free for a limited time, and the clues will be available for free in her Mighty Networks community. So you just have to sign up for that community to be able to see this for free, and she'll have it available for free for 2 months. And then you get with it 25 daily clues, 24 days of color work charts for the Advent, and a mitten top and thumbs on Christmas Day. For a non-matching pair, you work clues 1 through 12 of the MKAL on the left mitten and clues 13 through 24 on the right mitten. For a matching pair, work either clues 1 through 12 or 13 through 24 on both mittens. So that way you have a choice of, you could use 24 colors, you could use 12 colors, but it gives you a lot of different options, which I found interesting. And also having a pair of mittens at the end, this sounds more like something that could be completed in the course of December. So that's it for the mystery knit-alongs or knit-alongs that I was looking at. Now next up are the crochet patterns. And some of these are just absolutely fun. A lot of them you would have to figure out how to work your yarn management along with it. And a lot of the patterns, because of being crochet and you use a lot more yarn, you will probably need to add in an accent yarn, or as far as skein. But what I do like about using crochet patterns for Advent is crocheting, you go through it a lot faster. It's a much faster craft. So I will start with my 2023 Advent top, which was Stormy Skies by Lauren Willis. This was not designed to be a Advent, but being here again in Texas, short sleeve worked really good for me. And so I was able to use my Charming You Advent, this is in DK last year, to create this great top. Now this was done in medium large, and I used up almost my entire Advent. So depending on your size, it may work for you to be able to use an Advent to make a top. Another one that is possible as far as a top for a crocheted is the Scrappy Granny Tee. Now I did this as a Scrappy project. And let me see what my yardage was on this project. Okay, I was bad. I did an extra large. I just used all my scraps and a bunch of minis that I had, and I don't have I don't have what my full yardage, but the yardage is actually from 880 to 1600 yards, so that very well can be done and have some leftovers even. So this is definitely, you do have a lot of ends to weave in, but this is one of my favorite things to wear. And that was done in fingering weight. And by the way, Scrappy Granny Tee is by Emily Marie Davies. Next up, this one just was a lot of fun to look at, and it looks very doable in an Advent calendar. This is the Skirt Mermaid by CONCEPTcreative store, and it is a skirt. It's done with fingering weight yarn, and the yardage is anywhere from 1,837 to 2,275 yards. Goes from medium to 3XL, and it was just fun. It's $7.50, and there's just no telling what you can do with this. Next is the Crochet Advent Baby Blanket. It's $3.38. This is by Lucienne Crochet. And I put this in because it could be a lap blanket. It would be something that you would have to add an accent skein of yarn to. But there's a lot of possibilities there. Next up is a group or a collection. Dawn Barker from Barker Wool has put together a lot of different Advents that she's released as far as Advent patterns. And I had seen a couple of them and they caught my eye, and I was like, okay, I can't really pick a favorite out of these. She has released 5 crochet Advent patterns. So first up is Granny's House Advent Shawl. And these are all in US terms, and all of Dawn Barker's patterns, she charges $8 US dollars for each one. Granny's House Advent Shawl is a large triangular shawl, and each of her patterns are designed to use a 20-gram mini set along with one 100-gram skein of fingering weight yarn. in a contrasting color. Next up is Agnes, which is a crocheted Advent wrap. Then there is gift wrap. Then there is Mrs. Fezziwig, which I really do love how the colors are pulled together here. It's just beautiful wrap. And then the caroling wrap. Each one of these utilizes an Advent really well. I really love how all the colors will flow, and they all were interesting to me. So I have a little bit of a Dawn Barker collection here. As I said, I'm not going to go into great detail on any of these because you can see the picture if it interests you. I know you can find it on your own. Okay, so the Mini Stripes wrap is by Dana Ray Makes. It is $5. And it's something that you wouldn't use up your entire Advent. You could use it as an accent piece. And what I've thought about doing as well is doing maybe a cowl or something smaller, a hat, and maybe some scrappy gloves, fingerless gloves. So the Mini Stripes wrap uses anywhere from 1,250 to 1,300 yards, and it is adaptable. And she does, looks like maybe some single crochets or something as far as to make a fringe on it with all of your ends. Several of these projects that I have are fringed items, so you don't have to weave in your ends. And I find that really interesting and a lot of fun. Next up is the Vielfarbe. I know I have destroyed the word. I am so sorry. The Vielfarbe, Vielfarb wrap. This is by Tanya Oswald. And she put this together because she had a Advent calendar that she wanted to do. And this is actually done in Tunisian crochet or interlock fields. And she just looks like she's had so much fun with this pattern. It is $9.92. The color change that happens throughout here just made this something that really caught my eye. Next up is the Checkerboard Cowl. This is by Potter and Bloom, and I have two of her patterns here, and they are both free. This uses about 820 to 875 yards, so it doesn't use up your entire Advent, or it could just use up some scraps. It's in both US and UK terms. I do like that. Okay, so it does use an accent skein. Now also she has the 24 days crochet cowl. Let's see, this is also written in UK and US terms. And let's see here, you use 100 gram of DK weight yarn and 100 grams. So, you know, this would work really well if you have either a DK Advent or take your fingering weight and hold it double. So this is another option. Then there is the Just Feel Cozy wrap. This is by Kalisha Ryan. And I love the zigzag. It is either using DK weight or fingering held double. And it looks like it would work up really fast. It's a generally sized granny ripple piece meant to feature 24 fingering weight mini skeins or any collection of fingering weight yarn totaling about 480 grams. Then there is the Baubles and Berries wrap. And she spells baubles the same way I do. This is by Sandra Paul with Cherry Heart. And this is both in US and UK crochet terms. It's a beautiful way, she says, to use yarn minis, advent calendar, or a treasured collection of your favorite scraps. And the cost is $6.63. Okay, so my last crochet pattern is the Faded Pathways Cowl by Mariana Muller. It uses about 547 to 656 yards. It is in US crochet terms and is $6. And I just like the way that it all blends in together and is stacked together. A crochet cowl is going to go really quick. And again, it's something that you could add in with a hat, gloves, or just have some fun with it and use your yarn or your scraps for other things. All right, so next up is the knitting section. And I have a few more patterns that I have found in the knitting section. So let me pull this all up. Okay, one of them is, I don't really this is kind of a knit along. It's the Advent Socks by Natalie Sheldon. And she has several years worth. This is not a mystery knit along. It's $5.21. And she's already, she's released, it looks like the entire pattern, so it doesn't come out in little bits and pieces. But this year's Advent sock is inspired by vintage, shiny, bright Christmas ornaments. So you can knit it in any adult size in fingering, sport, or DK weight yarn. The way she has it designed is in a Christmas countdown starting on December 1st. Knit one section per day and per sock, weaving in the ends as you go. Now, she has been releasing these for several years. So if you go over onto her Ravelry page, the one here is the Advent Socks 2024, but she has several different ones. So if one is not something you're interested in, you might find another one that does interest you. Then there is the Audrey Shawl. This is by Tricot and Stitch. It is a free pattern. And it's a Victorian inspired design. It's not set up as an Advent project per se, but with the stripes and everything, you might have to look at your yardage and your stitch count. But I think this is very doable as an Advent. Another one that I looked at for the Tricot and Stitch is the Cozy Mystery Advent Knit Along from last year. It's $6.61. And this is one that I had looked at doing with my Scrappy Advent because I like the way all the blocks and everything happen. So I haven't seen where she's doing a mystery knit along this year, but that gives you a little bit of options. For me, mystery knit alongs worry me a little bit. I've only participated in one. I did like it and everything, but I think I would rather see what I'm going to be making, especially when investing this much time into it. So I wouldn't want to have to pull it out. Next up is the Unexpected Turn. This is by Helen Bingham. It is a free pattern. And I don't know what to say about it other than this looks like so much fun. She looks like she had so much fun. It uses, you could use 3,000 or 3,800 yards. You can use less, you can use more. It just depends on how long or short you want it. And this is basically a stocking cap that turns into a scarf. And I am very tempted to use, I think I might be doing this one myself this year with my Scrappy, because I just think no matter which direction you go, this is going to be fun. Okay, so next up, this is basically the Dawn Barker knitting section, okay? So I told you earlier, thought it was 9, but I think there's 7 knitting patterns that she has done with Advents. And it's done with your 24 20-gram Advents plus, I believe you need 1 100-gram accent. And I think I'm going to be doing one of these with my adventure around the UK. So let's just jump in here. I'm going to just show these rather rapidly. But the first one is MKALendar. It's a knitted adventure poncho. And this is the one that I think, is this it? This is the one I think I may be using this year. I really like ponchos, and they're easy to wear, and that's basically what I use instead of a coat, is something along those lines here in Texas. Next up is Salem's Path. And this is a generously sized triangle shawl in a rainbow of 25 colors. So, and you're doing a simple slip stitch color work technique that you can memorize and follow to give it some extra detailing. And all of Dawn Barker's patterns are $8 US dollars each, and they all seem to have the same as far as a 24 mini set with an accent. Then there is the Bonfire Adventure Wrap, a rectangle stole featuring an engaging slip stitch pattern. The Ribbon Candy Advent Wrap. This is a rectangle stole in a simple striped linen stitch pattern with 4 puffy corner tassels. And the linen stitch gives you kind of the look of a woven shawl. Then there's the Traveler's Blanket, which is a large square knit and garter stitch in the round. And it alternates 2 color schemes, optimizing the high contrast between the garter ridges and gives a subtle staccato texture to the piece. Then there's the Traveler's Poncho, and a large rectangular accessory knit in the round and garter stitch. The last one is the ostinato. And ostinato is a musical term, which I did not know this, used to describe a continually repeated musical phrase or rhythm. So she's borrowing it for these color blocks that are repeated in a rectangular pattern across the length of this wrap. And it is knit in simple stamen stitch to give it a subtle texture. So she has quite a few different ones to kind of get you going. So most of these designers will have multiple patterns for you to look at. If you like something about theirs, that you might find something else in there that you want. Okay, next up is 24 Skeins Go Crazy by Marion Boulin. It's about $7.72 US dollars. And it's an adaptation of her Metro line wrap and it's a multicolored rectangle that plays with woven garter bands. Instead of working a simple rectangle, you take it to the next level, make it a zigzag pattern by working strategically placed increases and decreases, and you weave your bands through later. Its design works perfectly for any yarn advent calendar. And it's just basically, just like she said, you're taking it to the next level. And this would be such a way to just show off your advent. Okay, she's not showing that it's super difficult, but boy, would it really accent. Then Stephanie Lotven with Tellybean Knits, along with her mystery knit-along, she has several patterns that really caught my eye because she does a lot of work with minis. One of them is the Rainbow Bouquet. And she says if yarn were flowers, then her garden would be bursting with spring blossoms. It's a side-to-side seamless lace shawl and worked from one corner to the other using garter stitch and 2 fun lace motifs. And then the sawtooth edge creates a lovely detail along the outer edge. And you have an accent color and your 24 minis that you would be able to use with this. She uses 12, as far as she's using 12, but she's also using them going both directions. So you could use, I believe, 24. I don't have this pattern, so I don't know for sure, but it looks like it would be doable with 24 different colored stripes instead of doing 12 stripes going from both, as far as across for the repeats. I also saw her grand opening. The grand opening shawl is broken into 25 manageable sections. So you can knit one section and use one mini skein every day between December 1st and December 25th, or just, go through your leftover stash. So each of these sections are just little bits and pieces. You could actually use this with whatever yarn you have and just knit on it a little each day. You don't have to have one of these things to be able to work something like this up. You can even do it in one color. It's got different textures and everything, and just have fun and make it your own. Next up is the Shortest Day Shawl by Christina Gordon. And this is another one. It's a free pattern, and it's another one that gives you all this fringe so that you don't have to weave in your ends. Isn't that what we hate the most of us, at least? I know it is for me, as far as having to weave in your ends at the end of the project or even as you go along whenever you're dealing with all these minis. So this pattern has, well, no, it's already been released. It was a 2021 pattern. Okay. And it is a modular wearable shawl in 2 sizes. Actually, the smaller size is 20 20-gram minis, and then the larger size is 24 20-gram minis. And the shawl is knit in the round and steeked to make a rectangular wrap or shawl. The addition of buttonhole makes the easily folded triangular shawl, which is the larger size, and you can use the buttonhole and wear it in that way. It says the steeked panel unravels as planned. Don't panic for instant fringe. This also hides all those pesky ends, so there's no weaving in. So this is just doing it a little bit differently. And these all have so much fun things to them. Maybe I'll live for another 30 or 40 years, so I can make each one of these each year. But of course, I'll find new things as well along the way. So what's next is Scattering Petals Cowl by Dana Ray Makes. Now, Mandy with Mouses Makes, I believe, is making this one with hers on her channel. And it is fingering held double or DK. It's made to be used with mini skeins, $5 US dollars. And it just has a really unique, I love the bubble look to it. And it says there are two options for thickness, a thinner version using sock weight yarn or a thicker version with DK weight or holding your sock weight held double. It's easy to memorize, and because with it being a circular cowl, you just tie off your ends and they're on the inside, so you don't have to weave them in, kind of like with the Litmus cowl. All right, so next is the Lullaby Throw by Tin Can Knits. And this isn't set to be an advent, but it looked like it would really work well as an advent. It's $6 US dollars. And it just gives you some soft waves, and you would need to have a contrasting color. But the sizes really do work. It says here for sock weight, the main color, there's 3 different sizes. You can use either 650 yards, 1,000 yards, or 1,700 yards. So you can get a good sized lap blanket out of that. And then a contrasting color of either 325, 500, or 850 yards. She also has a DK version of this, so it could be done with either sock weight or DK weight advent calendars. Then My Reading Shawl by K.F. Jones of the Bakery Bears, about $6.30. This is a stripy, big, rectangular shawl that she designed to just be squishy and to, be able to wear while she was reading at night. It is done with fingering weight held double. And looking at it, I figured that it could work with an advent. You could either hold your advent yarn double, or you could even get a contrast like a white yarn or something, or some floof or something like that, and hold that with it. So it has some different options that you could have some fun with. Also, with it being a rectangle, if you wanted to make a smaller one, you could. But, just have fun. It's your knitting, it's your crochet. Next is the Bluegrass Shawl by Wool and Pine. Now this is, $6.75, and it is brioche. So I've taken one brioche class. I'm trying to take a second one to kind of brush up on it again, but it's knitting on the bias and to have a low stitch count experience. You're doing the brioche stitch and you don't have to weave in the ends because it makes the fringe at the end. The sample she did here was done with a lot of hedgehog fiber sock minis. And the amount of yardage, the yardage is 1,400 yards, so you could create this definitely with a advent. Okay, I mentioned earlier the Litmus Cowl, which is a free pattern from Amy Florence Edwards Green from Stranded Dye Works. Again, I've made 2 of them. You don't, you tie off the ends on the inside, and you can either make it as she does, as it just being a scarf or cowl, or do it wider and not as long like I did to make it into more of a stole. So that one is one that is very adaptable, and you can do your own thing with it. Next is the Leftover City Cowl by Casey Hurley. Sorry if I have butchered your name. It's spelled Herlihy. And this is, see here, it's $7 and uses up to about 450 yards. So this is another accent piece to go stash diving and everything. And you could make it longer or shorter. She's using 9 different fingering weight yarns, about 90 grams. But you know, you could make it longer, you could make it shorter. You could some of these sections, you could do the plain sections shorter to add in more colors. So it's something that you can just have a little bit of fun with. Also, I was looking at this, and you could actually do this kind of like the litmus cowl and just keep going. You know, start off, instead of doing ribbing, you could start off doing a provisional cast on, and then just go through this pattern and make it. And you know, you could definitely do 24 with some accents in there and make it long enough to where you could have it as a long cowl or wrap, or not, yeah, or stole rather. So it's all about looking at these and making them your own. You don't have to do them just the way that they do them. You can do them a little differently. And one of the new patterns that's coming out, and I know you've been seeing it everywhere, but it's just intriguing to me, so I wanted to add it in here, is the Pirouette Shawl by Pearl Soho. The pattern is available for free, and trying to see here, it uses 1,380 yards, so this would work for an advent. Just depends on some, you may have more in one color, more in another, or however you wanted to play with it. More of a diamond, so you could fold it over. So it may not be for me just for that reason, because I like to be able to just wrap it fully around me and tie it in the back. But it just looks like such an array of jewels that I really wanted to add it in, because even though it may not be my cup of tea necessarily, it might be yours. For something knitted that you can wear, there's the Stripe Buster. The Stripe Buster is by Amy Gunderson, and I was looking at, see, it's $8 US dollars, and I was looking at the different sizes and everything, and for my size, I would not be able to make the long sleeve, but she does long sleeve cropped, long sleeve standard, short sleeve cropped, short sleeve standard. And for a short sleeve standard tee in an extra large, which would be me, you're looking at about 1,750 yards. So, which would be very doable to make a knitted striped tee instead of my crocheted striped tees with an advent calendar. If you're needing more yardage, you could add in an accent row and go with that. But there's just so much you can do here to be able to have even a long sleeve sweater if you have that accent color that you add in. So you have a lot of possibilities here. All right, the last one that I have is the Moon Cloud Shawl by Artemis Yarns. And this was a new pattern that she's just now releasing in December. It's available for $7.50. And I just love the texture on this. There's small and large sizes available depending on your yardage and how much you want to use. And she did 4 skeins of fingering weight, but this is definitely something that you could use and stripe it just more and turn it into an advent. She's got an I-cord edging on it. And so it's a beautiful yet simple looking shawl. It just looks like something I want to cuddle up inside of. Okay, so I keep looking at all of these different things and I'm wanting to jump in and do something. So I hope that this might have inspired you in some way, shape, or form, gotten you excited. This has been a very fast year for me. And so I am just not ready for Christmas. I'm not ready for Thanksgiving, let alone Christmas. I'm not ready for the end of the year. But here it is, whether or not I'm ready for it or not. So I hope that this might have inspired you a little bit. If you like some of my content, come check me out. I do have usually a monthly vlog. I take you on out and abouts with me and just do a lot of fun things, either in Christmas in July daily vlogs or some short daily vlogs for Advent. Just check me out, come over, like, subscribe. Please subscribe. I'm up to 400 subscribers and I'm trying to grow my channel. So just throw some subscriptions on there for me and keep me moving so that I have more, some more control. But thank you so much for coming along, and drop me a note below. Let me know if any of these are things that you think might work for you. Thanks for watching. See you soon.